Jalen Pitre, the contract extension. I believe Ian Rappaport was at least the first person that I saw reported the Texans agreed to terms on a 3-year contract extension with standout safety. Jalen Pitre, not the standout part, but the safety part. He's a little bit different than just a safety. Roughly a $39 million deal. Houston locks in another key member of its secondary. First Derek Stingley Jr., now Pitre. Houston continues to pay its young core. Yeah, and this isn't a huge surprise, but it wasn't a slam dunk necessity. Jalen Pitre is a guy that when he first got here, we were very impressed with his ability to flat out make plays. Missed a lot of tackles, but he also set records in terms of how many tackles he had as a rookie. But he just had a hard time those first couple years really finding his spot and his role in the defense. He's not a safety. He's more built mentally like a linebacker, and they found his role for him last year where sometimes he's a slot corner, sometimes he's a nickel linebacker. They used him with a lot of versatility, and I think you just think about putting that down a little bit. My God. Hold on a second. Okay. Jalen Pitre, these are his TFLs from last year. Just a little clip I put together while I was waiting for this live stream to begin. Pitre's ability to make plays behind the line of scrimmage, Pitre's ability to cause turnovers like he did in the Dallas game with that really vicious hit that he had. He does a great job with that. And I think the way he's operated and the enthusiasm with which he plays has been a big part of why they like him so much. The swarm mentality and everything that D'Amico wants on this team. He delivers on all of that. So the Texans have really established a template here in the last couple of years where, man, if you produce on the field, yes, that's one thing. But how do you go about your business? How do you work? What's your energy like? Nico Collins, yes, checks that box off. Derek Stingley, yes, does everything you want him to do. And look, back in my day, and really for 10 or 20 years after my day, it was uncommon for guys to get an extension after their third year, at least over the last couple CBAs. It was reserved for guys like Andre Johnson, J.J. Watt, and that was pretty much it. The times are a-changing, and like my generation and Nick Caserio's generation, we're the people who introduced the mullet and acid wash jeans. So we shouldn't be held to the traditions of yesteryear when we're responsible for such atrocities as that. This is, from a team standpoint, I think just another indicator that, hey, we want a certain type of player. We want guys that play with passion. We want guys that work hard, guys that'll do whatever we ask them to do, and that's what they're rewarding. I don't worry one bit that Jalen Pitre is going to be affected by a boatload of money, and the guaranteed money is a good chunk. The Texans cap has the good stuff on this. Total average per year, when you figure the fact that this doesn't kick in until 2 years from now, comes to $10.65 million. I know it's being reported that he's the highest paid nickel cornerback in the league and all that. We know that he's not really a nickel cornerback. He's a nickel linebacker, or he's not a slot corner. He's a nickel linebacker that plays in the slot a good amount of times. Hard to assign a specific position to Jalen Pitre. The $13 million average per year tops Nate Hobbs, putting Pitre as a top paid nickel defensive back. But I think it's with some nuance, it's more, I look at this as $10.5 million over the course of 4 years. This is what Texans cap had predicted that it should land at about. It makes sense for both sides. I think Jalen Pitre is a guy that wants to be in Houston. He's from Houston. Remember, he was one of the guys that decided to stay at Baylor after the program was dismantled. And guys were allowed to leave. There'd be no penalties, and most guys bolted. Jalen Pitre, he's got the loyalty gene. And in pro sports these days, that's harder and harder. It's hard to come by in college sports for certain. It's getting harder to come by in high school sports, what with the NIL and everything else. So that part of it, I don't think you can really put a number on it. He's the right kind of guy, and they figured out and found the right role for him last year. So I feel good about this. It wasn't something that I absolutely had to have as a necessity. Nick Caserio spoke about Jalen Pitre the week before he was injured last year on Payne and Pendergast, which you can listen to every morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Sports Radio 610 with myself and Sean Pendergast. This was Nick Caserio on Jalen Pitre during the middle of the regular season last year. Apologies to Nick Caserio for the royalty-free photo that I pulled up for him.
Been awesome. I mean, you ask anybody in the building like what he means to our team, and you're going to get nothing but glowing remarks and positives. He plays the right way. He's got the right mindset. He's impactful with the plays. You know, I think every player, like you're going to have plays, either give up some plays, you want some plays back, but just his energy, his mindset, his physicality, his effort, his playmaking ability. I want to say he's our leading tackler. He's close. I think him and Henry are close, but he impacts the game in a positive way when he's on the field, and his attitude is infectious. We talked last year was 1,000. We'll take 2,000 Jalen Pitre's on this football team. So he's embraced the role. It's different than the role last year, but we've figured out that this is the best thing for him and for the football team. And he's gone out there and made play after play after play in each game. So, we're fortunate. We feel like we have a number of good football players on this football team. JP's certainly high on the list.
Yeah, I'm not doing Nick any kind of way. He was a quarterback back in the day, the receivers coach in the NFL. He likes to go out and toss the old pigskin around a little bit. I do think that Sean and I talked about this morning. Nick, the old way, the Rick Smith's old way was to never renegotiate with guys or extend guys during the season. And the closest he ever came to it was when they extended Matt Schaub right before the regular season began. It was announced after the first regular season game, but the deal was done before the season began. I was okay with that strategy, but I didn't like that. I didn't like how it kind of handcuffed you a little bit. And obviously, that was a different situation. But he also, like most GMs for a long time, really wouldn't extend a guy after their third year unless they were future Hall of Fame caliber. This is more of a case-by-case scenario with Nick Caserio, where I think they're going to take guys that they feel good about and say, look, we don't need to overly complicate this. We like the way you operate. If they waited until next year and Jalen Pitre stays healthy all this season, it would have been a lot harder to re-sign him if he decided to test free agency. The money would have been more if they had re-signed him. So it just makes sense if you do it judiciously. And I do think it really puts the carrot on the stick in the right way for how you want guys on the team to operate. They're like, hey, it's not just a matter of playing well. Am I a guy that goes above and beyond? Am I a guy that does the true veteran leader type of stuff? And you look at Will Anderson. Will Anderson's going to be a slam dunk in that regard. CJ's going to get an extension just based on, I think, A, he's going to play better this year, but also B, he's going to get an extension almost no matter what, barring something cataclysmic, because that's the way it operates these days. But you look on the offensive side of the ball, in the number of guys right now that you could point to and say, oh, yeah, give that guy an extension after the third year. They need more of that. And maybe some of these young guys on the offensive line or get drafted this year can start to see that a little bit, but they just need more of that swarm mentality. And they need guys that play like Will Anderson, that play like Jalen Pitre, that play like Derek Stingley on the offensive side of the ball. Oh, sorry, I should have. And so I didn't do Nick dirty at all. He looks way younger there. I guess GMs are probably like presidents, huh? They age a lot more in 4 to 8 years than the average person does. Is that ball prop? Come on. Now we're bringing up old stuff. Okay, if we're going to bring up Patriot stuff, I think you know how I am with the Patriot stuff. I hate, we had that whole era where everybody was paranoid that, they're just going to try to be New England South. And there's some things that I think are great to pull from New England. There's other things that I don't think are awesome to pull into your situation. Maybe they're good for other situations. I think having a flexibility about how you deal with guys individually is a really good thing to have. And we go back to, to kick it back to the old generation and the way things used to be done. I do think teams used to have a greater capacity for disgruntlement amongst their players. And part of that was because it was harder for players to force their way off of teams. It was harder for players to be publicly disgruntled because social media didn't exist. But I think the pendulum has kind of swung to the other side, where teams are so paranoid about disgruntled players that at the first signs of trouble, the team will capitulate or the team will trade a player away. So why is that relevant to this situation? When you reward some guys after 3 years, that also means, hey, there's other going to be guys that aren't rewarded after 3 years. Some of those guys will end up getting disgruntled. Screw them. I don't care. If you're worried that somebody getting paid is going to turn some other guy on your team into an a-hole, guess what? That guy was already an a-hole. Because I've been in locker rooms where a guy gets paid, another guy doesn't, and you can see it on the face of the guy who doesn't get paid, and he just starts seething and turns his attitude turns to crap. And then there's other guys that they might be disgruntled and they might feel like, hey man, I should have gotten paid, but if they feel that way, they let their agent handle it. They don't become a distraction. They treat their teammates the same way. There's some guys that turn into cancers because they flat out, they start taking it out on the guy who did get paid, and they'll start talking shit about him behind his back. That's where it comes into getting the right kind of guys in your organizations. A little bit of disgruntlement is good. You want guys to be constantly feeling like, no, I'm going to do better than this or whatever. They've got guys with chips on their shoulders. So as long as you have the capacity to handle it and you're not a little wimp about it as a GM, then I don't worry about that part of it at all. I hope Nick can put 5 hog-hunting pit bulls on the O-line. The defense is full of game-bred bulldogs already. I like that imagery. A lot. I'm going to nickname Pitre Psycho Cinco because of Cinco Ranch for those of you from outside Houston. And Jalen's hit on Cole Kmet is my favorite moment of his. Yeah, he's had some kidney rattlers, man. And kidney rattlers in a football context, not kidney rattlers in other contexts. So I'm excited about this. It's not anything it doesn't change the salary cap hardly at all this year. I think Jalen Pitre's cap hit will be about $100,000 more than it would have been. It's future years when it kicks in that it matters. So and as it's been with all these other extensions, it's not an extremely long extension, so that carrot on the stick is still dangling in front of Pitre's face as well as everybody else. Oh, one more thing too. I realized this after talking about Derek Stingley's contract, that you got to remember, like the guys who get these extensions now, even if they weren't high draft picks, it's not their first big payday. So I don't think in general you have to worry as much about how a guy's going to respond to having a boatload of money. Jalen Pitre has made $7 million already in the NFL. So the rookie minimum salary is damn near $1 million. So by the time you extend these guys these days, you've already got a pretty good feel for you either they've been playing well making a boatload of money, or you can see where the money actually went to their heads, and maybe they're living a little too much of that Instagram lifestyle and worried more about that stuff than they are actually playing football. I have zero concerns about that with Jalen Pitre. So, I'm Seth Payne. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, all of that. And I know I keep promising you guys more draft content, but my God, it's overwhelming. I'm focusing in on the guards. I'm going to put together a video here over the next couple days. That's not a 100% resolution.